Today's episode is sponsored by Three Roll Estate, Louisiana's single estate distillery. All right, so today I'm here with a very special guest, one of my favorite people in the world, someone who's real dear to my heart. I'm not gonna give her an informal introduction. I'm gonna do this right. So, Natalie Robottom was elected as the first female and first African-American parish president of St. John the Baptist Parish in May of 2010. As the chief elected official, she is responsible for approximately 44,000 residents of both banks of the Mississippi River, over 250 employees, 11 parish departments, and numerous parish boards and commissions. Robottom is active in the community and in the New Orleans metropolitan region. She serves in numerous professional, civic organizations and leadership positions. She is a member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. How was that?
You know, that was, I think, a surprise to quite a few people because I didn't do it in college. I did it, as a grad and later on in life, and managed to keep it a secret until the crossing, which was very meaningful to me, surprising to everyone. But I think doing it as an adult, it meant more to me. I fully understood the service, the thrust of the organization. And actually, it was a good time because I have the time to do those kinds of things, work on social action, education, health and wellness, and promoting that in the community of African Americans.
Okay, that's a great answer. Okay, so Miss Natalie also says here, like I said, I got this from Megan Collins. It says you earned degrees from University of Southwestern Louisiana,
Yes.
and Louisiana State University?
That's correct.
Okay, worked in public, private schools for 24 years as a speech pathologist, serving 16 years as a special education administrator.
All correct. That's correct. That was my former life.
So
that's how I look at it. That was the life before.
That's a good way. So how is the life of now? How are you enjoying now life?
Well, we've discussed this. Everybody in my house is retired. Your dad's retired across the street. Everybody almost around us is retired. So it's unusual to say the least because, our neighborhood was filled with kids, lots of activity for a long time. And now those same people are there, but we're retired. Right. So
we have kids now.
That's right. We're grandparents. So that's exciting, very exciting. But I can remember still working when Hernandez and your dad were retired and I'd come home. Obviously when you're president, it's long days, very busy. Mm-hmm. And I'd come home and they were on the patio chit-chatting and just one watching the other cut grass. And, I was offended, because I had to rush back to work and these guys would just sit around all day, play on the iPad and just talk to each other on the phone. And now, I'm part of that group now. Now, of course, I'm not sitting most of the time. So I interrupted their routine. Right. In addition to the coronavirus, I did interrupt their little routine. They're getting up late and sitting around most of the days because, as with work, I do it at home. There's a list of things that need to be done. So let's go ahead and get started with them. So we had a little adjustment.
Keeping them organized.
I tried. I even have your dad up walking by 6:30, 7 o'clock. He's on the road with me. But it was an adjustment. It's been about 6 months. And, I'm still not one to just sit around and not do anything. So I needed to motivate them to jump in with me, and that seems to be working.
I got you. And like you said, I know you've always been somebody to be proactive and things as far as, I know you used to play a lot of tennis.
That's right.
Now you got them walking, staying active because you got to stay healthy.
I'm going to move into golf.
There you go.
So,
I did not expect that.
Absolutely. I have clubs. I have shoes. I have, Casey laughs at me. I bought the little guides, the books, give you little tips, because I don't have it to memory, which I watch it. I like it. But I'm not really good at it because I don't play enough, but I want to be. And so, that's going to be my next thing. Okay.
So speaking of that, with Casey, like you said, we had a lot of kids in the community. How is it now, just being grandma? First of all, what does she call you?
I'm Gigi.
Gigi.
And to hear that, and she drags it out, Gigi, it just warms your heart. And she's at a stage now where she repeats everything. Yeah. And of course, I'm a speech pathologist, right? So I'm constantly working on words and putting words together and describing things and showing her things so that she has these words. And sometimes you don't realize some of the things you say, and I think occasionally I'd say, "Oh, boo boo," and so now she's saying, "Oh, boo boo."
Just copying.
She's like, "Okay, so maybe I need to change that." But that's been a highlight. Everything happens for a reason, and my retirement at this point in time with my new granddaughter, and then we're going to have another grandchild in October, a grandson. So I'm enjoying that right now, and again, you never stop teaching once you're an educator, so working with her as much as possible to get that language, and she's picking up very quickly.
Okay. So as far as that, like you said, your experience as being a speech pathologist, I definitely want to ask you, what is one of your proudest moments with that? Before the parish president, before people know you as that, like I know you were an educator.
Right.
So what would you say was your proudest moment, or just the most fulfilling thing about doing that?
Right. I actually thought I would be going back to that.
Right.
So I worked 24 years. At the time I left, I was on the speech licensing board for the state. I was doing speaking at conferences and going out of state and helping to set rules and regulations for speech pathologists, throughout the state. So all of that was very meaningful to me. Now, of course, there were always major organizations for speech pathologists in private practice, but there really wasn't an organization for those of us that practiced in schools. So I worked really hard with a group of individuals to start that organization, which was SPOUS, which was speech pathologists and audiologists in Louisiana schools. And the person who assisted us from the state level, there was an award given in her name, and I received that award early on in my career for pushing through that, and I probably was the president of the organization at some point.
Right.
But I loved what I did. As I said, I thought I'd be going back. I accepted an appointment for 4 years with all intentions of going back to the school system. However, that didn't happen. I ended up in the governor's office and then running for office again. But I really enjoyed what I did. Of course, now I see my students, and most people remember me as the speech lady,
right?
Not the president of the parish. And of course, my colleagues from across the state and otherwise, it's like that's not a normal progression.
They go from speech
to president, not council member, not justice of the peace, not any of that. You just went straight to the top. So that's an interesting story, not your typical route. But you do utilize some of the same skills. You're dealing with a different population, a broader population, but preparation is always important. Doing the right things important. Making decisions with the best information available is important in either one of those. And, I tended to do that. Surrounding yourself with really good people.
You do have a great team.
Always important. And politics, as with quite a few things, can be very difficult. So it is important to have people around you who you trust. But also who has the ability to do the jobs. Correct. And that's always a balancing act, getting those people who you can trust, but also bringing a skill set. And I felt very strongly about having both.
So like you said about that, being prepared. And I know Coach Monica used to always tell us that failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
That is correct.
Right? So I know for us, we joke about it and we say, you're the boss lady. But, even from the times of recreation and all that, baseball, all that, you always kind of, even with the parents, had just that presence of being a leader. So what do you think that comes from, just that leadership trait?
It surprises me, and of course, most of the people here in St. John Parish, the New Orleans area, I've been here for 38 years, so that's all they know of me. Right. They don't know the person who grew up.
Like the humble beginnings.
Right. Went to this small Catholic African-American school until it closed, had to go into an integrated school, was leveled, but at the bottom level until I had to prove myself, that, wait a minute, she belongs, at the top.
In this class, right.
And, but working really hard to show that. And those people, and even my siblings, they don't know this. They don't know President Robottom.
Yeah, they just know,
They do not know President Robottom. They know Natalie. So it's a little bit strange to see the change.
Yeah.
Of course, now I am that person.
Yeah.
I come from a family of 6. I'm in the middle. So I have an older brother, 2 older brothers and sisters.
Right.
However, that boss ladiness
Yeah.
comes out.
Yeah.
And I think it surprises them sometimes.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
it's just who you are.
It's
like-
who I am now. That wasn't who I was. So,
Right.
you know, it's surprising when we're home together and, you know, I'm setting the standard. And, you know, I tell this story, which it was, you know, very unusual, and this happens. But my father died in 2002. And I had been going back and forth, and there was time enough for everyone to make it home, which is unusual. He kind of waited, though.
Yeah.
I had my sister was in Dallas, my brother traveled, their kids were in Houston, so we all got together at the house. And you know, when people die, sometimes you have, you know, a little friction in terms of who's going to be in charge, what would he have wanted, or whatever.
Right.
And there was an argument between 2 of the older siblings, and you know, I think I surprised him. I said, "Hold up, we're not having that here."
Right. Not at the time.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Right.
And it stunned them, but they listened.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, but that's when some of that came out that they weren't used to. You know, they were thinking I'd come in as the 4th and just follow along with, you know, what was going on. But you know, I had some other things in mind, and part of it was we weren't going to handle it. You know, anything like that.
Just taking control.
Right. You know, right after my dad's death. So, you know, it's unusual for people to see that side of me, not the people here, because as you said, you know, I was teen mom. As I cleaned out the house for my retirement, I found the basketball banner that I'd made out of felt for their little state, their championship team where they won nationals. And it's like, oh, I can't throw that away. You know, I made it. You know, it's still hanging on a rod. So I always tended to move to those roles, not because it was a leader. I just wanted it to be right.
Yeah.
And it kind of propelled you, you know, when we're dealing with, at the time, parish recreation with kids from all different schools. Somebody had to get their report cards. You had to have pictures. All these things that were necessary to play in these tournaments.
Right.
And, you know, obviously the coaches were volunteers, so they were spending their time coaching. So there was always a need for somebody to step in and help and organize the back end, make sure, you know, everything that was needed was ready when it was time to do these tournaments. So I did that, did it at my children's school and did it in my profession. And, you know, it just ended up that this is, you know, where I landed. Not realizing that my entire life, probably, I was preparing for this role.
Yeah, it's just building you up.
Building me up, and which, again, I served in the second position for 4 years as Chief Administrative Officer, worked in the governor's office for 2 years before president. So again, all of those experience, all the relationships, all the disasters that occurred during those times actually prepared me for the things that we encountered in St. John.
I got you. So just basically just molded you into, you didn't even know it.
Didn't know, had no desire, none whatsoever to run for office, because you don't typically run for the highest office first.
Right.
You know? And so that was not my plan, but you know, sometimes God has that plan, and you know, you have to be open to His plan. And you know, fortunately, I was able to do it successfully and leave on my terms when my term was up, and feel good about the things that were done.
Gotcha. So, you know, like your story, I guess, is like an evolution of something that, you know, I definitely wanted to talk about, because I even say Delta, you was the first African-American parish president of St. John, probably one of the first female in the whole
One
state.
of 3. Yeah, I was number 2.
So, you know, that's, I think your story is a lot of motivation to just the average, you know, black girl that's out there. Hey, look, like I'm saying, people may not notice. They see you, the Lexus, you glitz and glamour now, and it's like, oh, but they don't know the humble beginning that you came from, even to, like you're saying, those stories of when you had all black schools, so then they get integrated, but you at the bottom. Had to test and to say, okay, no, I'm smart. You know, what type of advice would you give to, you know, there's probably another little black girl out there that's in that same situation. Like 6 people, that's a pretty big family too. So, you know, it's a lot of different obstacles with that. Just
growing up with 6, you're right.
You know, just being in a household that big. What advice would you give to that little black girl that's out there? You know, hey, you in school and you may be on this path of something that you don't even know, and
Right.
you got something much greater for them. What advice would you give to them?
Well, I do think, education is very important.
Yeah.
Okay, it is extremely important, which is why every opportunity that I got as parish president, I went back to the school system because
Yeah.
I needed those students to see people like me in positions like what I held. I didn't see that growing up. We didn't have that. They still don't have that.
Right.
I go back to
Right.
Vermilion Parish in
Right.
Abbeville. There's no black president. There's no black mayor. There may be one or two black elected officials. Very few, if any, parish-wide elected officials.
Yeah.
That was not something that I saw. Therefore, I didn't aspire to be that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
However, because I was elected, I make sure to go around to as many events as possible within the school system so they too can see this is where I started, this is where I am now. You see who I am now. You don't know where I started.
Right.
And again, combination of I'm not in my hometown, so people only know what they know of me here.
The back end of your story.
Right. So I want to make sure that people know and understand I wasn't always president.
Yeah.
I wasn't always the leader of things, the head of organizations, and even like in our parish presidents group, ended up being one of the leaders because I was one of the veterans. I was one who'd been there the longest and had been through a lot. So it doesn't come automatically.
Right, yeah, like one of the longest terms.
Absolutely. In the parish's history, you're only allowed to have 2 consecutive, which would be 8. I had 10 years.
Right.
So, just that in itself, there's so many firsts, which are important, but they're not, the end all be all, but, nobody can ever be first again. You'll always have that.
You're the pioneer. You paved the way. Like you said.
That's it. But it's important.
Some little girl out there will see that.
I need you to
schools
see
you visited.
that you can do this too.
Right.
Okay, this could be you. Whether it's the speech pathologist, whether it's the principal, whether it's the president, whether it's some other elected position, now that ceiling's broken here, you too can aspire to be this. And I know when I moved here in 1982, this was not even, probably dreamed of. Probably nobody thought this would happen. I know I knew the demographics. The council, I think there may have been 2 African Americans on it.
Right.
And through districting that was set up, but overall, I don't think anybody anticipated this. But now that it's happened, I need as many as possible to see that you too can do this.
Yeah, and it seems like more black people run now.
Absolutely.
It just is what it is.
I think there's a combination of things for that. I'm not going to take full credit for that. I think President Obama's election got black people involved in elections, period.
Right.
Okay, and they followed it, and they followed politics, and again, the way to make change is to vote and have people who represent you.
100%.
So again, you and my son Casey are really good friends. Obviously, there's lots of discussions about things that are going on right now with the police brutality, the protests, the coronavirus, and in our discussions, my thinker.
We're definitely about to get into that. That's what. Yeah, I'm glad you segued to that.
Would want to know, what do you think about this? How would you handle this? Lots of people get on social media and type things
Facebook's
and do
crazy.
things, and but they don't really act. What are the actions that are important? And with very little thought, my response was, you need to vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You need to vote.
Yeah.
And I know you guys voted. Make sure you voted. Hey, you guys voted. If you had to vote by mail, you voted. So you grew up in voting. And I remember Casey telling me, "Mom, everybody doesn't do that. You make sure I vote, but I have friends that don't
do it. Yeah.
But it is important, and it's important that you vote at the local level because that is the level that's closest to the people.
Yes.
Those people are making decisions that can impact you the most.
Yeah.
So that good old boy, who that isn't always the best thing. There's a trend right now. Which is probably why we have the president we have, where people think it's important to have people who aren't familiar. They say, you're not part of the old group. You're not a politician. You haven't been engaged. But there's some benefit to having been engaged.
Right.
You learn from being engaged. Now, I do think there's a time period where, you need fresh
but
blood.
you learn.
But there's some, there's a benefit to having experience and knowing how to go about making laws.
So to piggyback off of that, my next question would be, what you think is, to your heart, what is your best accomplishment as the parish president?
Well, one of the largest accomplishments was passage and approval and full funding for the West Shore Lake Pontchartrain Levee project.
Okay.
That project had been in the work for some 47 years with no movement, no approval, no money. Okay. So spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, without a lot of help.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. Help from my staff, but not a lot of help from some of the other folks that should have been helping.
Why, they just were opposing you for no reason?
Well, some of that, but there's also the fact that, if you look very closely at Democrats and Republicans and conservatives and liberals, there's a trend to avoid taxing people. Yeah. Okay, and I'm right there with you. Okay, if you don't need to. But what we knew was the parish had a responsibility to help pay for this levy.
Right, to protect ourselves.
You have to contribute. There's a percentage that you will have to contribute. But it required us passing a new millage. So educationally, we spent a lot of time. We did a campaign. We went around the parish. We showed them, hey, it would be if you're buying a gallon of milk, this is what the change would be.
I remember
but
that.
If you don't approve this, then you will not have your match to get these federal dollars and state dollars. So that was challenging, and I think some people didn't want their name on passage of a tax. But leaders make decisions and can stand by them and justify them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, I felt very strongly that the only way for us to get those dollars was for a millage that would dedicate the dollars to the levy. Fortunately, we passed it and started collecting the dollars. So once it made it to the federal level and President Obama signed into law, this is an actual project, we still had no money. Congressman Graves came in afterwards and worked with us, and I remember it was one of my arm surgeries. He called me to say, hey, I think I can get money for the project. Okay.
One of your arm surgeries?
Yeah, I had 2 rotator
I remember
cuffs.
the sling. I remember.
And the ankle, but that's a whole nother, and I'm a soldier, and I'm still walking. But he said, I think I can get this money. He said, how much do you have, and did you pass your millage for your match? And I could show him, yes, we have. We've started collecting it. This is what we have. And he got 100% of the funding. Because we had been told that each year we'd have to fight for an allocation.
What's his name?
Congressman Garrett Graves.
Okay, definitely shout him out.
Absolutely. He said, you're going to get this annually. You have to fight for it to be in the budget.
Right.
And so that could take years to build. Well, the mere fact that we had our money in place, we received the full $750 million from the federal government. The state, through the governor, Governor John Bell Edwards, came in with their state match, CPRA help, and of course the parish had their dollars. Right. So the most important project that I think will determine the future of St. John the Baptist Parish, and actually the river parishes, the 3 parishes, is this project. So that would be a major accomplishment that I worked really hard for, that I felt, once it was done, that was a great achievement, but it won't be fully realized until it's constructed. Yeah,
it's a legacy thing.
And under the law that was approved, there was also a time frame. So they couldn't sit on this money and wait. You have so many years to finish this project. It's a 5-year time frame tied to the money. So I feel good about that. I feel bad about having to leave it. It's already dropped off a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I did what I could do. In the time frame that I was there. But I did receive another award. I told you about the one as a speech pathologist. Yeah. Again, unknowing that you work toward something, you do what's right, you work really hard. But completing that project for FEMA was, something, again, we did it because it was right, not to be the first to do it, not to get the recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Yeah. Ultimately, I received an award as being the elected official of the country.
Wow, yeah, I know. I got to, like I said, I got to thank Courtney and Megan for the presser. Thank you, Courtney and Megan.
Yeah, so
because
that,
I read that, I was like, wow, I didn't even know that. And I was like,
it was like a surprise, to me. They actually called to interview me, or pretending that they were interviewing me about what went on.
Yeah.
And so, I went through the story, and, this is what happened, this is how we made it here, this is where we are, we're still in recovery. And in the end, they're like, no, we're from American County Magazine. We just
They
called
kind
to
of
tell
pranked you.
Yeah, it's like, no. Yeah, they did. They got me good. They're like, no. We already picked. You're going to get this award. And just so happened, it was at the National Conference of County Officials,
Yeah.
which is held annually. It was in New Orleans.
Okay.
So my family was able to come and watch me receive that award. But,
nice.
it
So,
was,
so that would be in 2014, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so that is what, like I said, Courtney and Megan sent this to me. I'm gonna read it out for my people at home. And if they don't know the Levee Project, that's when you pass on the 12-mile bridge and you see this new railroad we got being built.
That's
and
being
everything's
built.
going on back there.
You can see it in two places. They started to clear away the alignment for the levee. So
Right.
on the I guess the eastern side, you'll see a small path. It's about 100-foot width. They
Yeah.
will need 600, but they had to do 100 to do some geotech. And then once you get on the 3-mile bridge, you'll see another swath where
Right.
it will go. But that actually started. They're in the process of awarding contracts for stockpiling. They're trying to get clay. So it is moving. They're finalizing the design. That will be an accomplishment, not for me, but for our area.
Right.
And for industry, because when we flooded, the interstate flooded, the plants had to shut down, the nuclear plant had to shut down. If there's no evacuation route available, you cannot operate any of those plants.
Yeah.
So the price of gas
Wow.
went up because all the oil refineries couldn't operate. So it's a lot bigger than us. You couldn't get supplies in and out of New Orleans. So
Right, the port closed,
all of that.
right.
The
a lot
port.
of things goes on.
So
at the same time.
it will be, having that levee project completed will affect, a great deal more than just, St. John Parish.
We'll tell them about that. In 2014, Ms. Natalie Robottom selected as elected Official of the Year by American City and County Magazine for her role during Hurricane Isaac. As the leader among leaders, you graced the cover of the national magazine with the article titled "Grace Under Pressure." You was honored as the Citizen of the Year by the Omega Psi fraternity and elected Official of the Year by Young Democrats. So, like we said about the whole, crossing Delta at a later age, taking it serious, knowing what it's about. So how did these things make you feel to get these awards and just people, we all need a little gratification every now and then, and just these awards and just, grace under pressure.
Well, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. Rowe, Coach Rowe, whatever you want to call him. And he would frequently, question some of the things I did because, most people, or at least half of the people, aren't going to like the decisions you make.
First man.
And I would repeatedly say, you got to know that going in. Everybody's not going to agree with everything you do. And if you try to make decisions based on, whether they agree with you, you're going to be wishy-washy. So you try to do what's right. And so in everything that I've ever done, I try to do what was right. These awards and this recognition came as a result of that. Most of these things, I had no idea there were even awards. People,
right, you're just doing your part.
Strive to win these awards. It's like, for the most part, I didn't even know there were awards. Okay, and that has been my entire life. I just happened on, I remember I had no idea that you could make a dean's list in college. I was a first generation college student.
Right.
And somebody read it in the newspaper and said, "Hey, we saw in the paper you made the dean's list." It's like I had to look up what is that. It's like a 3.0 or higher. And again, I didn't do it to make the dean's list. I did it because that was the right thing to do. I was in school, paying to go to school. I did my work.
Right.
And so has all the other awards have come like that. I did what was right. Now, was it easy? Absolutely not. Hurricane Isaac was one of the most stressful times because you're dealing with the lives of people. Yeah. And fortunately, not a life was lost. We evacuated to safety pets and people. Yeah. Because we had practiced and drilled and worked on a process should this occur.
Right.
What we know is that every event is different, regardless of how you prepare. So, but you have to prepare. And there was no loss of life. We were able to draw down federal dollars. We were able to complete the program, spending those dollars, helping the residents, because that's where the money went primarily to, home repairs, because that was our greatest loss.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
It's so unexpected,
quite a few drainage projects, and of course this big one, and getting those dollars. That is I think $1.2 billion came to the state of Louisiana out of the bill that Congressman Graves put this money in.
Okay.
St. John Parish got $780 million.
Yeah.
Out of $1.2 billion.
Right.
Out of the state of Louisiana.
Right, more than almost 80%. So
so it's like, but again, it's relationships, it's working really hard, and doing what's right on behalf of the people you represent. So as I said, most of these awards just happen to come, but the goal was to try and do what was right throughout the time that I was there.
I understand. Well, I had a couple more questions. They're not about you, they're about other people in your family.
Okay.
So as far as your children, I know you're a granny now. We'll say granny, you're a Gigi. You don't look like granny.
That's right.
You're Gigi. You got a new one on the way.
I do.
Well, I guess we could say two, because Megan's got another little girl on the way. So that's like extended your.
A little boy. She's having a little boy. His name's Cade.
Okay, a boy this time. Okay, good for her.
So
Congratulations.
July, we'll have
two boys in her and Court.
Yes.
In case she's got the girl.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So it's a good time for us. For years, of course, your dad and mom experienced it, and Lauren's parents. But everybody always said, "Wait till you have grandkids."
Yeah.
It's so different. You love your kids, but there's something different about your grandkids.
Yeah.
And so I've been hearing that for years. Obviously both my kids waited a little while before getting married and having kids. So, but again, all in good timing. Obviously, this is the best time for that. And there is no other feeling than hearing them call you Roro and Gigi. And of course, Camilla loves Lila the dog.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Lila's been around for a while.
Lila is 17, so we're a little bit worried about Lila. But Camilla loves Lila.
Yeah.
And that's her best friend. She walks her all day. She wants to sleep by her. She wants to try to give her food. So we're enjoying that. And I look forward to my next one.
Yeah. Looking forward to the boy. Now you're gonna get to spoil him.
Absolutely. And
they're so close, like Casey and Courtney.
They are. We're gonna be again in the middle. I think Casey and them are looking to stay on this side. They're not in LaPlace. And of course Courtney and them are in Baton Rouge. So all of that works out for us.
Right.
And
now you can pick and choose which daycare you can go to.
I know. Of course they did warn me. You just can't pick them up. You're on the list, but you have to tell us you just can't go and pick them up out of daycare. Which of course I understand that. Oh. And of course on the other end,
let Gigi spoil these babies.
And I'm going to try, but I'm no longer the boss.
Yeah.
Okay. In this life.
Okay.
How do you want me to do it? It's your child. I'm doing it like that.
I feel that. I respect that. Yeah.
And people expect that, this presidential side will be in everything. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
And is that how you want, what do you want them to eat? What time, I'm following your instructions. Yes, I had kids. I know things this generation does things differently, but it's your child.
That's very respectful.
Tell me how you want me to do it, and that's how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So,
some people from your generation, they're going to need to see that part of this. They're going to need to see this part of the interview. Somebody that's going to hit home for it.
Well, I'm just saying, people don't expect that to be that way, but that's how it is. I made that decision. That's how we're going to handle that. That's how you want me to do it. I'm doing it like that.
That's honorable.
So.
That's honorable. Yeah. So let's start with Courtney then. Mm-hmm. Let's say for the kids, what is your proudest moment for Courtney?
Oh, let us see. Courtney, you saw them both grow. And I think Courtney's change from when she was in high school and that lack of family, like she wanted to be with friends.
Yeah.
And then, now she's our
all-
organizer.
yeah,
She's all family.
all
Like
family.
she makes sure for every holiday, you know, I'm very proud of the woman that she is. That
Yeah.
family is very important, and she doesn't leave anybody out, and she wants to make sure, you know, we're together for holidays. And the same thing with Griff's family. You know,
Yeah.
like family.
Very
is
family oriented.
Right.
Very, both.
Where,
Both sides.
you know, there was a period of time where, you know, she just
Friends.
no. She didn't want to do anything really with the family. She wanted to be mostly
Yeah, with the friends, right.
But that changed, and you know that's very meaningful to me.
I understand that. I feel like I was like that too. And when you get older, you recognize it and you understand just how important the family time is. And
Right,
you're just
right.
more mature. So what would you say was your proudest moment with Casey?
Oh, let's see. You know, Casey did all the sports things and academics. I
Yeah.
think with him, and of course, you know, personality-wise, they're very different. Which
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know them both. You know,
Very.
and I think, you know, with him, seeing how he takes care of Camilla. Like, you know, you
Yeah,
just wouldn't
being a
imagine, which
father.
I'm sure you're doing that too.
Yeah.
But, you know, that you don't expect necessarily, or, you know, to see the basketball, baseball, football player, and now you're, you know, the father.
Yeah.
You know, and having
to a little
you know,
girl at that,
and,
you know.
yeah, picking her up from school, dropping her at school, and you know, making sure she's eating, and so you know, that's
Being a father.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So he should be
very-
getting a good Father's Day gift coming up.
absolutely he should be. We'll see how that goes. But,
Getting back into politics?
you know, I'm spending my time right now. This coronavirus, again, you know, God's plan is the plan.
That's right.
Okay, and that's just the bottom line. So this time period where the stay-at-home was in place,
Yeah.
you know, that bothered a lot of people. We're very fortunate that we were both retired, so we weren't affected by that.
Yeah.
But it also gave me some time to spend at home because
Yeah.
for 10 years I was always gone.
Right. on
You
the
know,
go.
it was late nights, it was weekends, it was, you know, obligations, and never really a lot of time to just spend at home. So obviously there were things I wanted to do, and, you know, was able to do that. Of course, you know, both my kids and their spouses were working from home.
Right.
In the case of Casey and Blair, you know, it's very difficult to work from home with a
With a
16-month-old.
one, yeah.
Right, you know, so being able to assist with that was
Yeah.
important to me. So I've been enjoying, you know, this time at home.
Yeah.
Now, am I going to stay at home forever? I doubt that. But you know, I have options,
Yeah.
and I don't have to jump into anything really fast because I'm
Right.
not that way anyway. You know,
You're in your own lane.
and, you know,
you can-
I'm gonna, you know, weigh my options and
Yeah.
do what I think is best for me, my family, and whatever opportunity there is at this point in my life. So I'm not sure what happens next, because after my first election, which I lost in a very close election, within 2 years that position was vacated, and I insisted I would never run again, and I did.
Right.
Okay, so you
Right.
just never know where you're going to be. So I'm not going to say never. I'll never do anything, but at this point, I think, you know, I'm in a position to choose
Yeah.
what I want to do, or if I want to do.
Yeah.
I've been told, and I feel that way, you know, that I have a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of
You do?
information that could be helpful to someone.
Yeah.
And you know, it wouldn't be right to just sit on it.
Yeah.
But I am not going to rush into anything just to say I'm doing something.
Right.
I'm Natalie Robottom at the Palms Podcasting Center.
Today's episode was produced by Going Global Agency at the Palms Podcasting Center.
Watch TV. Why don't we pull it back out? Damn it.